Hey plant friends! Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Darylyn and today I have the first in a 3-part series of my summer plant hauls. That's right, this summer I bought so many plants that we're just gonna have to do this in multiple installments. But to be fair, not all of them are for me personally. As you may have heard in my series that's been playing over on the Legends of Monstera channel, I am in the process of trying to put together a plant shop. So I've been getting stock for that as well as grabbing a few things here and there for myself, but I don't have a ton of information on exactly when that's gonna start or what I'm going to have for you guys at the moment. So stay tuned for more info on that as it becomes available. So today, everyone watching at home gets to enjoy the fruits of my labor, as it were, with a plant haul focused solely on philodendron. Now, I've purposely structured this so that the plants that I'm hauling get better and better as we go. So make sure you stick around to the end because you're not gonna wanna miss the last couple of plants. But before we get into it, if you could please do me a solid and give this video a like, maybe even subscribe. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Additionally, please don't be shy. Join the conversation in the comments below. I would love to chat with you. Maybe tell me about the best plants that you've hauled over the summer. All right, well now, I guess without further ado, let's get into our summer 2021 philodendron plant haul. Okay, everybody, so the first plant that I have to show you today is very, very cute. The specimen that I have in my care is a very, very small bebe, and it is genuinely one of the most interesting philodendrons that I'm aware of as far as growth habit is concerned. Of course, I am talking about the one and only Philodendron Lupinum. Now, as you can see, I wasn't kidding. This is a very, very small specimen, and it starts out its life as a very adorable, velvety kind of heart shape, a little bit similar to how like juvenile melanochrysum and even Philodendron micans looks. As it matures and if it's allowed to climb, it eventually starts to change shape and I believe texture as well, and it develops these really, really cool big lobes, and it just looks really, really distinct. I can't really think of anything else in the philodendron family that really is comparable to how a Philodendron Lupinum looks when it's mature. Now, this plant is extra special to me because it was actually gifted to me by a friend of mine just as a surprise extra in an order of plants that I got from her. So I think that this is really, really cute, and once it kind of gives me a couple more leaves, I'm gonna see if I can get it climbing, and fingers crossed, hopefully I can start to see it develop some of those really cool mature lupinum characteristics pretty quickly. Now, the second plant I have to show you is a very interesting plant, the beautiful and I think underrated Philodendron Nangaritense. Now, this plant is really, really cool. It is one of the most perfectly heart-shaped philodendrons that I've ever seen and that I'm aware of. It really comes out with these perfect Valentine's Day hearts. And it has this really cool kind of fuzziness and ruffling on the stem, which a lot of people really like that and think it's very cool. Some people it's not for them, but I happen to think it's really neat. It kind of feels like really rough bristles, like a rough bristly scrub brush or something. It's really interesting. It's got a beautiful, beautiful glossy leaf, and then also a reddish dark magenta cataphyll. And one of the cool things about the Philodendron Nangaritense is that when the new growth emerges, it emerges with a very pink kind of look to it. Now then, there are some other forms of plants that look very similar to this, and this plant is considered a dupe for them. One in particular is highly sought after, highly coveted, extremely rare, and is having a moment right now. But we will talk about that more later. For now, this is a very, very, very beautiful Philodendron Nangaritense that is new to my collection this summer. Third on our list, I have a plant that I have had my eye on for a very long time. It was one of the first rare plants that I saw online way back in probably 2019, where I was just completely stunned by how cool it looked, and it was something that I never thought that I would be able to get my hands on. My, how times have changed. I am, of course, talking about the absolutely beautiful Philodendron Mamei. Now, this plant is also sometimes called Philodendron Mamei or Philodendron Mamei. I think that the correct pronunciation is Philodendron Mamei. But look how cool this plant is. It is just such a cool shade of green. It's definitely a very matte leaf. It doesn't quite feel glossy and it doesn't quite feel velvet, but the markings on it, the variegation, is very, very cool. It is silver and it is glittery. I don't know that you'll be able to see it on camera. I desperately hope that that's gonna come across on camera, but it is glittery, which is really cool. The other really neat thing about these plants is that they've got very cool pronounced ruffling on the petioles, and the midrib running down the back of the leaf is pink. I think that this is a really cool plant. This one is still pretty small, but I'm excited to see if I can get it to size up. I just stuck it into my mini greenhouse after I got it from my import order, and I think I've had it now maybe a month or a little over a month, but as you can see, it's been rooting up really nicely in just some moss, and I think it's gonna be ready to go into its permanent substrate very soon. These are, I think, crawlers, so it's definitely going to need, you know, some sort of vessel that's big enough to allow it to crawl for a while. But I'm really pleased with this plant. I think it's so cute, and I'm so glad that I finally got my hands on it after all this time. These used to be pretty expensive, but they have really come down in price. I don't think for one this size you would expect to be too far into triple digits to get something locally if you're lucky, but domestically for sure. I think it's a really unique looking plant, and you know, if you're looking for something silver, this might be a good one to go for. So that is my Philodendron Mamei, and she is just gorgeous. Okay, moving swiftly on. For my fourth philodendron that I hauled this summer, I have a beautiful Philodendron Rio. Now, this plant is something that I've wanted for a really long time, and they weren't previously considered to be rare or premium at all. But once the houseplant mania of COVID kind of set in, the demand really shot up for these, and as a result, so did the price. I feel like this is actually maybe kind of like a controversial, you know, inclusion in this video, because there's a lot of kind of like consternation around the different kind of sport variegated versions of Philodendron Patriciae. A lot of people think that Philodendron Silver Stripe, Philodendron Cream Splash, Philodendron Rio, they're all so similar that it's essentially impossible to tell them apart, and like, how would you even know which one you had? I'm not gonna lie, I'm not an expert on being able to tell the difference, but I have seen some kind of like answer keys of how to tell them apart floating around. I don't have a Cream Splash handy, but I do have a Silver Stripe, and you can kind of see them side by side. The thing about the Silver Stripe that I've noticed is that the leaf shape tends to be a little bit different. That's just like something I've noticed. That may or may not be officially recognized as a difference, but on the Silver Stripe, you see the variegation is all running down the center of these leaves, these newer ones, and these have been under really high light, so they have a lot more variegation than a lot of Silver Stripes always tend to do. Pardon my ugly leaves, but you can see this one legitimately has just a sliver of a stripe down the leaf. The Rio doesn't really get like that as far as I've ever seen, and it also sometimes will have variegation popping off into different sides of the leaf. So if anybody happens to be an expert and knows a surefire 100% of the time way to tell the difference between Rio, Silver Stripe, and Cream Splash, go ahead and let us all know in the comments. I think it's kind of one of those things that there are characteristics that will tell you what one is or isn't, but they aren't necessarily present on every single leaf. This is two different cuttings in here, but they were cuttings that were next to each other on the same vine, so they're from the same plant, and this was sold to me as a Philodendron Rio, and the rest of the plant looked very Rio. It didn't look Silver Stripe, it didn't look Cream Splash. And one thing that I will say, just from my own personal experience, this is like not an official like proclamation in any way, is that for some reason the Philodendron silver stripe has always been extremely hard for me to propagate. It takes forever, like months and months and months. The Rio, this was about as easy to propagate as a regular Philodendron heartleaf green form. I don't know if anybody else has kind of had that experience with it, but I had wanted a Philodendron Rio for a really, really long time, and I'm very, very excited that I was able to get a cutting from a friend that was actually 3 nodes for a very, very, very generous price. So I really appreciate that. You know who you are. And it's just so cute, and I can't wait until it starts growing. It looks like we have some action right there. And how adorable is this little pot? So cute. But anyway, yeah, that is my adorable little Philodendron Rio. Okay, so we have 3 plants left, and we are really starting to get into the heavy hitters right here. These next 3 plants are incredible, and I am so ecstatic to have them, but also I feel really lucky that I was able to get them, and I'm really excited and looking forward to being able to share them with other people. And so now, without further ado, the first one of our ultra super special boys slash girls is Philodendron Patriciae. Now, whew, man, what can I say about Philodendron Patriciae? This is definitely a plant that for a really long time I never expected to see in person outside of a botanical garden, and for sure never thought that I would have it in my home and it would be under my care. But I was able to get one of these little guys over the summer. This is an extremely juvenile form of the plant, and it doesn't really look like too much now, but these, as they get a little bit bigger, they start to develop these really beautiful ruffles like down the leaves. As they mature and they climb, the leaves get really long. Like I'm talking like longer than me as a person. So very, very, very cool plant. I actually saw today that Enid from NSE Tropicals posted on her Instagram that her big mama Philodendron Patriciae was blooming, and the inflorescence was really beautiful. It kind of looked like a calla lily, and then it had this beautiful ombre of like kind of a reddish orangey up to cream and then to white. Aroid blooms aren't really known for their beauty, so to have a really beautiful special plant that also has a beautiful bloom is pretty cool in my opinion. These plants are very rare, highly coveted, extremely expensive, and that's all compounded by the fact that they are not known for being the easiest plants to keep happy or take care of. So mine has just been chilling in my grow tent. I'm honestly not sure if I'm ever gonna be brave enough to take it out, but we do have a little leaf coming in. You can see the leaf is trying to inch out of the petiolar sheath right there. I can't wait to see what it looks like. Fingers crossed that it gets a little bigger than these and maybe has a little bit more ruffles. I'm not really counting on that though, because you know the plant did get shipped and all that stuff, so I have unlimited patience for this one. But I did notice yesterday it is starting to send out really cute little roots too. So I'm thrilled at how well this little baby is doing, and I can't wait to watch it grow up. It's just gonna stay in the grow tent indefinitely until I figure out what I'm gonna do with it. But I feel like if you're gonna have grow tent space taken up permanently by something, a Philodendron Patriciae is a very worthy occupant. Now, full disclosure, the only reason that this next plant is not the grand finale of the video is because I have featured it on this channel before. However, it's just too good not to include, and it's really having a moment. So how could I, in good conscience, leave out the incomparable and ever mysterious Philodendron Lynamii? I'm like nerding out with these plants, you guys. Like I know they're my plants, but at the same time, I'm really nerding out because these are extremely cool. Up until extremely recently, like within the last couple of months, they were almost impossible to get. The plant is cool in and of itself because it has a lot of really cool characteristics. You know, similar to the Nangaritense that we were talking about earlier, it is one of the most perfectly heart-shaped philodendrons that you will find. I honestly think it's even more perfect than like the Philodendron gloriosum, which a lot of people kind of think of as like the quintessential like heart-shaped philodendron. So that is extremely cool. It has this really, really nice sheen to it that the Nangaritense just doesn't have, like the way the light hits it. It is a glossy leaf, but it's glossy in a way that it has this sheen, this almost like subtle green iridescence to it. It's really beautiful. You can see it on camera, but compared to what it looks like in person, it really doesn't do it justice. It does not have the fuzzy, bristly type of petiole that you see on the Nangaritense. It's just got a beautiful red hue there at the base of petiole. But it also does have that pink cataphyll. As you can see, that new growth is coming in pink. When these plants put out their new leaves, they are the most beautiful, striking strawberry Laffy Taffy color. It's really, really quite something, and I regrettably do not have any new growth on either of these today, but trust me, it would be worth it for you to go ahead and look it up. Let's take one last look at this beautiful girl. I'll give you one last close-up. Look at her, just stunning. Here's her sister. I guess that's the best way to get all 4 leaves into the frame. Beautiful, 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 beautiful plant. I can honestly talk about this plant all day, but onward we must move to the end of the video. Okay, if you made it this far, I appreciate you, just so you know. So last, but certainly not least, I have something very cool to show you. This is Philodendron Felix. This plant is truly very, very special. These plants are extremely hard to find, incredibly rare. I'm the only person that I know who has one. This was an investment that I made for the plant shop, and even though it is for the shop, I am still absolutely thrilled to have the opportunity to have it in my care. This plant is so beautiful. The leaves come out this really, really striking, kind of a bit more electric green color, and then depending on the light that they get, they can fade down to this really dark color. When I got the plant, it kind of had a little bit of like kind of striping on it between the dark green and the more electric green. All of the leaves were like that, so I'm pretty sure that it must have been getting dappled light. It's just so cool. I just think it looks so striking, very prehistoric. When one of my friends saw it, she asked me if it was a hybrid between a Billietiae and a Philodendron furcatum. As far as I know, no, it's not, but I mean, I completely get why she said that. Now, I do think one of the reasons why this plant is still so uncommon is that the entry-level price on this plant is still really, really high. It's close to quadruple digits. So this is a really, really special plant. With the entry-level cost being that high, I don't know that very many people are going to be able to have access to it to the point where they'll start propagating it and making it available. So this is not one whose availability I expect to surge in the market anytime soon. It's also not something that's super strikingly variegated or pink or anything really, really trendy. It's kind of like a plant nerd plant. So not super sure whether or not the popularity on it is gonna go up. I guess, you know, the Philodendron UPI has gotten to be a lot more popular and more available, so maybe we will see it start to enter circulation a bit more. But this is Philodendron Felix. Gorgeous, gorgeous plant. My experience with them is that they are a bit slow growing and they are a bit slow to root, but very, very hardy. This plant basically hasn't declined at all, like 0% since I imported it. So really, really cool. Definitely not something that you're gonna see an example of every day. And it's hard to believe sometimes that I was able to get this and I have this in my care. So, whew. Maybe we should just take a second and look at this plant because this is very, very cool. that is going to do it for today, everybody. Thank you so much for chilling with me. I really, really hope that it was worth it for you to stick around until the end. Don't forget to give this video a like and leave me a comment below. Tell me what plants you've hauled over the summer. That is going to be it until next time, which is going to be really awesome because we're going to be doing another plant haul, but this time it's going to be anthurium. So get excited for that. I'll catch you later. Bye.